You're listening to Just a Dude podcast with your host, Nathan. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's roll. Hey there, folks. Welcome back to Just a Dude in the News on Just a Dude podcast. I'm your host, Nathan. I'm just a regular guy sitting down with a cup of coffee, ready to break down the biggest stories from the past week in the good old US of A. We're covering July 4th through July 11th of 2025, and let me tell you, as usual, it's been a wild ride. From natural disasters to policy shakeups, we've got a lot to unpack. So grab a seat, maybe a cold one, and let's dive into the top 10 news stories of the week. I'll keep it real, laid back, and straight to the point, just like always. Here we go. All right, let's start with a heavy one. Central Texas got hit hard by a catastrophic flood along the Guadalupe River over the July 4th weekend. We're talking over 80 lives lost, with dozens still missing, including at least 10 girls from Camp Mystic, an all-girls summer camp. Kerrville, usually a hotspot for Independence Day celebrations, turned into a disaster zone when flash floods swept through. The images are heartbreaking, with a painted broken heart near the riverbank in Hunt, Texas, capturing the community's grief. This wasn't just a random storm. Reports say climate shifts are making heavy rain more common, turning places like Kerrville into high-risk flood zones. The Guadalupe River swelled 26 feet in under an hour, wiping out homes and businesses. Texas officials are now talking about installing flood warning sirens in Kerr County to give folks a fighting chance next time. Volunteers and first responders are working nonstop to help survivors and recover what's left. The community's resilience is really something else. Locals are banding together, setting up relief funds and donation drives to support those who lost everything. But there's frustration, too, with some pointing fingers at the federal government for not doing enough, while others defend the need for local solutions. Federal aid is starting to trickle in, but it's clear the road to recovery is going to be long and tough. If you're looking to help, check out local relief efforts through places like NPR or the New York Times, which have been covering the story closely. Keep those folks in your thoughts, and let's hope they get the support they need to rebuild. All right, let's move to the next story. Next up, President Trump stirring the pot with some big tariff announcements. Again. Starting August 1st, he's slapping a 35% tariff on Canadian imports and a 50% tariff on Brazilian goods, especially copper, citing national security concerns. This move's got global markets nervous, with analysts warning it could slow economic growth in late 2025. Trump's pushing to boost America's industries, but it's raising questions about higher prices for everyday folks. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney and Brazil's President Da Silva aren't taking this lying down. Brazil's talking about reciprocity, meaning they might fight back with their own tariffs, while Canada's warning of escalation if things don't cool off. Copper's a big deal for the Department of Defense, so Trump's team says these tariffs protect national interests. But manufacturers and small businesses are worried about costs spiking for things like construction materials. Supporters of the tariffs say it's about time America put its economy first, arguing it'll bring jobs back home. Critics, though, see it as a risky move that could jack up prices at the hardware store or even spark a trade war. Wall Street's still riding high thanks to tech and utility stocks, but there's unease about what's next. For more details, check out Reuters and CNBC. They have solid breakdowns on the trade fallout. This is one to watch, folks. It's a bold play, and whether it pays off or backfires, we'll all feel it eventually. But here, let's keep moving. Shifting gears, a federal judge in Florida put a stop to President Trump's executive order aiming to end birthright citizenship for kids born to non-citizens. The judge didn't just block it, they granted class certification status to everyone affected, setting up a major legal fight. This was a key part of Trump's immigration agenda, and it's now stuck in the courts. The debate's a firestorm. Some argue the 14th Amendment's been misinterpreted for years, and ending birthright citizenship will deter illegal immigration. Others say it's flat out unconstitutional and goes against what American stands for. Legal experts are betting this will drag on, maybe all the way to the Supreme Court. But for now, the ruling's a win for those who see birthright citizenship as a fundamental right. There's also chatter about conditions at immigration detention centers like Alligator Alcatraz in Florida. Democratic lawmakers tried an unannounced visit but got what they called a sponsored tour by state officials, raising eyebrows about transparency. Both sides are dug in, with some calling for tougher enforcement and others demanding humane treatment. Yahoo News has a good rundown on the judge's decision and what's next. This one's going to stay heated, so buckle up for more updates as the courts hash it out. On July 4th, President Trump put his signature on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a massive 900-page tax and policy package. It's got some crowd pleasers, like extending tax cuts, but it also slashed over $1.1 trillion from Medicaid, Medicare, and Obamacare over the next decade. That's raised some hackles, especially since Trump had promised no cuts to those programs back in February. House Republicans pushed this through fast, cutting their July 4th recess short to get it done. Supporters say it's a win for lower taxes and less government bloat. I'm with them, putting more money in folks' pockets. But critics are sounding alarms, warning that millions could lose health care and food assistance, hitting low-income families the hardest. There's even some grumbling within the GOP about the rushed process. The bill's changes won't hit all at once, but advocacy groups are already gearing up for a fight. For the average American, this could mean cheaper taxes, but tougher times at the doctor's office or grocery store. The New York Times has a deep dive into what's in the bill and who it'll impact. This is a game changer, folks. Whether you're cheering or worried, it's going to reshape things for years. Let's see how this plays out before we jump to any conclusions. The State Department's getting a big shakeup, with hundreds of jobs on the chopping block in what's being called its biggest restructuring in decades. This is part of a push to slim down government, but former diplomats are warning it could weaken America's voice on the global stage. Diplomacy's already stretched thin, with hotspots like Ukraine and the Middle East. Supporters of the cuts say it's about cutting red tape and making government more efficient. The Trump administration has been clear about wanting a leaner operation, and this fits the bill. But critics, including career diplomats, argue it's gutting the expertise needed to handle complex international issues, like trade tensions or conflicts abroad. The timing's tricky, too. The State Department's catching heat for sanctioning Francesca Albanese, a UN reporter for Palestine territories, after failing to get her removed. Some see it as a side issue distracting from bigger diplomatic challenges. NPR's got a good breakdown on what these cuts could mean for U.S. foreign policy. This one's flying under the radar for some, but it could have big ripple effects. Keep an eye on how it impacts America's clout overseas. Switching to health news, Kansas is grappling with a measles outbreak that got public health officials on edge. Most cases are in southwest Kansas, but some have popped up in Wichita and Hutchinson, with exposure warnings tied to Wesley Medical Center's pediatric unit. Measles spreads like wildfire, and unvaccinated folks are especially at risk. Health departments are pushing hard for vaccinations, urging everyone to check their records. There's tension, though, with some communities resisting mandates, arguing for personal choice. Others are pleading for folks to get vaccinated to protect vulnerable groups like kids and seniors. It's a classic clash of freedom versus public safety. Kansas is stepping up with free clinics and outreach to contain the outbreak. It's a wake-up call, though, that diseases we thought were history can come back, and fast. Kansas Public Radio's got the latest on exposure sites and what to do if you're in the area. Stay safe out there, folks. If you're in Kansas, make sure your vaccines are up to date. Let's hope they get this under control soon. Next up, in a big shift, President Trump announced the U.S. will send weapons to Ukraine through NATO following Russian drone and missile strikes on Kiev that killed at least 2 people. Trump's planning a major statement on Russia this Monday, so more details might be coming. This moves a departure from his earlier skepticism about Ukraine aid. The decision's got layers. Some see it as a strong response to Russia's aggression, with possible deliveries of Patriot missiles and medium-range rockets. Ukraine's President Zelensky's been pushing for more support, and this could be a game-changer. Others wonder if it's a one-time move or a sign of a broader policy shift. At home, reactions are split. Some praise the move as standing up to Russia, while others question the cost and whether it'll drag the U.S. deeper into the conflict. With tensions high, this could set the tone for the U.S.-Russia relations. Reuters and the New York Times have the latest if you want to dig into this a little bit more. This is a big one, folks. Let's see what Trump's Monday statement brings. It could be a huge turning point. All right, here's a quirky one. Mike Lindell, the MyPillow CEO, got hit with thousands in fines after his lawyers submitted a legal filing full of AI-generated areas on July 7th. The court wasn't happy, calling it a waste of time. This ties into Lindell's ongoing legal battles, and it's raised some eyebrows. Lindell's a lightning rod, especially for his vocal support of Trump and election claims. His team's use of AI for legal work backfired big time, with some saying it shows a lack of seriousness. Others argue AI is just not ready for high-stakes legal stuff. Either way, it's a rough moment for Lindell's crew. This also sparks a bigger conversation about AI's role in everything from business to courtrooms. It's powerful, but this case shows it can mess things up if you lean on it too heavy. Lindell's supporters are calling it another pile-on by the system, but the fines are real. NPR's got a piece of the fallout if you want to check it out. Never a dull moment with Lindell, that's for sure. Moving over into the tech land, Nvidia made waves by becoming the first public company to hit a $4 trillion valuation, fueled by its sky-high stock price. The chip maker's been riding the AI boom, with its processors powering everything from chatbots to gaming. But by market close, it slipped just below that mark, showing how wild the market can be at times. This is huge for tech. Nvidia's chips are the backbone of the AI revolution, and investors are eating it up. Wall Street's been on a tear, with tech and utility stocks pushing the Dow higher and higher this week. But some analysts are whispering about a possible bubble if the AI hype gets ahead of itself. For regular folks, this means tech's still running the show, but it's a bumpy ride. Investors are thrilled, but there's chatter about what happens if the market cools. CBS News has a solid take on Nvidia's milestone and what it means for the industry. It's mind-boggling to think one company is worth that much. Let's see if Nvidia keeps soaring or hits some turbulence. Let's end on a fun note, and we covered this a little bit last week. The 2025 Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest went down at Coney Island, and it was pure chaos in the best way. Joey Chestnut, the multi-time champ, was back, dominating the competition. Mickey Sudo, the 10-time champ, held her title and her weigh-in with 2021 winner Michelle Lesko. Stuffing hot dogs in each other's faces got the crowd roaring. This event's peak Americana, loud, messy, and full of heart. Thousands packed Coney Island to cheer, and it's a reminder of how much we love our weird traditions, especially after a tough week. Chestnut and Sudo are legends, and the energy was electric. Some folks might scoff at competition eating, but it's a blast and a break from the heavy news. It's about coming together, having fun, and celebrating the little things. Reuters has some awesome photos if you want to see the madness for yourself. Here's to hot dogs, good times, and keeping it light. Until next year, Coney Island. And that's it for this week's episode of Just a Dude in the News on Just a Dude Podcast. From floods to tariffs to hot dog heroes, it's been a packed week. Thanks for hanging out with me, Nathan, as we sifted through the headlines. Hit me up on social media or drop a comment if you've got thoughts or want me to cover something specific next time. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll catch you next week for more news, Just a Dude style. Until then, I'm Nathan with Just a Dude Podcast. Catch you later.